The snowfall had quieted, giving way to calm, clear winter days. The sky was high and crystal clear, as if time itself had paused to let the world catch its breath. Mary and Alex had been spending more evenings together, sometimes strolling through the park, sometimes sitting in cozy cafes, and occasionally walking along the riverbank, not needing words. But one evening, when the city was shrouded in a frosty mist, Mary felt it was time to speak. They sat in a small cafe by the window. Outside, rare passers-by moved slowly and the fog stretched across the ground, making the world shrink to that single table, 2 cups of tea and 2 hearts. Mary stared at her cup for a long moment before speaking. "Alex, I rarely talk about this, but maybe I should. Otherwise, I can't move forward." He lifted his eyes. His gaze was calm and attentive. "If you're ready?" She nodded and took a deep breath. "My father," her voice trembled. "He was my anchor, the one who held our little world together. Every New Year, we decorated the tree, baked pies, even sang silly songs. Everything felt alive." She paused. "He passed away last spring. The doctors said it was his heart. Since then, it feels like the ground has vanished beneath me." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't look away. Alex remained silent, but his quiet presence was support, not indifference. "I'm sorry," she whispered, brushing a tear away. I still haven't learned to speak about it without pain." Alex placed his hand over hers. It was the first time he had touched her so directly. "There's no need to apologize. Loss, it never leaves without a trace. I understand." Mary felt his words were not empty comfort. They came straight from the heart. He felt silent for a moment, as if gathering his courage, then spoke. "You know, I've lost too. Not to death, but sometimes betrayal hurts even more." Mary listened carefully, not interrupting. "I loved. Deeply. We lived together, made plans. I thought it was forever. But one day, I realized I was only a guest in our home. She had someone else. Everything I built collapsed. Not because of illness, not because of fate, just because of choice." He gripped his cup so tightly that his fingers turned white. "It destroyed me. I stopped believing in the future, in people, in the possibility of trusting someone." Mary whispered softly, "And now?" He lifted his eyes. His gaze was pain, but also something new, like a spark among ashes. "Now, I don't know, but when I'm with you, it feels like maybe trust can be rebuilt." Mary felt a gentle flutter in her chest. They sat in silence, but this silence was different. Not heavy, not oppressive. It was a bridge between them. Now they shared not only the joy of walks, but also their pain. When they stepped outside, the frost was sharp and the stars shone especially bright. Mary lifted her eyes to the sky, and for the first time in a long while, felt her father nearby, perhaps smiling that she was no longer alone. And Alex walked beside her, thinking, "I'm still afraid, but maybe with her I can face that fear and overcome it."
Winter gradually gave way to early spring. The snow melted slowly, revealing the earth beneath, moist and dark, ready to be reborn. Mary and Alex often met in the old park, where the path curved around the frozen river and the trees still bore the faint scars of winter. One afternoon, Alex suggested visiting a place he hadn't mentioned before. "There's a tree," he said quietly, almost hesitating. "A special one. I used to come here when I was a child. It's a memory tree." Mary raised an eyebrow, intrigued. A memory tree? You'll see, he said with a small smile. They walked along the winding path under branches that were still bare until they came to a massive oak. Its trunk was thick, gnarled, and covered with patches of moss. From a distance it seemed ordinary, but up close it held a quiet majesty. Alex knelt and traced a shallow carving on the bark, initials intertwined, faded with time. My mother carved this when I was little. She said, "Every memory, happy or sad, lives here." Mary placed her hand on the tree. The bark was rough, yet alive under her fingers. "And your happy memories?" she asked softly. He chuckled lightly. "Most are simple. Playing here, running with my dog, hiding from the rain. But some are painful, like the day I lost my first friend." Mary listened, feeling the layers of his past opening like the pages of a delicate book. "Can I leave something here?" she asked after a moment. Alex looked at her curiously. "Of course." She pulled a small ribbon from her coat pocket. It was violet, worn at the edges. She tied it carefully around a low branch, whispering a memory of her father. "For him," she murmured. Alex watched silently, then placed his own ribbon nearby, a quiet tribute to someone he had lost long ago. For a long time, they sat under the oak, leaving behind fragments of their past. Every ribbon, every carving was a promise, a memory preserved, but also a seed for something new. When they finally rose to leave, the sunlight was breaking through the clouds, touching the river and the ground with warm light. Mary turned to Alex. "I feel lighter, somehow." He nodded, understanding perfectly. "It's the tree. It holds not just the memories, but also the strength to carry them forward." As they walked back, side by side, Mary realized that the park, the tree, even the quiet streets of the city had changed, not because the city had grown, but because she had learned to carry her past without letting it weigh her down. And Alex, walking beside her, was learning the same. Sometimes, she thought, the simplest places, the park, a tree, a shared silence, are where hearts begin to heal.
It was late afternoon. The city was bathed in a soft golden light, and the first hints of evening crept into the streets. Mary and Alex had decided to walk together after leaving the memory tree. The snow had mostly melted, leaving patches of damp earth and the smell of early spring in the air. They walked in silence for a while, side by side, neither wanting to break the fragile calm. Eventually, Mary spoke. "Alex, I've never told anyone this," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I feel like I can tell you." Alex turned to her, giving her his full attention. "You can tell me anything." She hesitated, then continued. "My father, he was everything to me. He kept our family together, made every holiday special, every small moment memorable. Last spring, he passed away. A heart attack. Since then, it's like the ground beneath me disappeared." He reached out and covered her hand with his. His touch was warm, grounding. "I'm so sorry, Mary. I can't imagine how hard that must have been." She nodded,
tears threatening to fall. I'm still learning how to talk about him without breaking down. He gave her hand a gentle squeeze. You don't have to apologize. Losing someone, it leaves a mark, but it doesn't mean you have to carry it alone. For a moment, they sat quietly, letting the words linger in the air between them. Then Alex spoke, his voice low and honest. I've lost two. Not someone who died, but someone I loved, someone I trusted. And sometimes that kind of loss hurts more than anything else. Mary looked at him, listening carefully. I loved someone deeply. We lived together, made plans. I thought it would last. But one day I realized I was just a guest in my own home. She had someone else. Everything I built crumbled. Not because of fate, not because of illness, just choices. He pressed the cup in his hands until his knuckles turned white. It destroyed me. I stopped believing in the future, in people, in trust. Mary spoke softly, almost a whisper. And now? He lifted his eyes to hers. Pain lingered there, but also something new, fragile, like a tiny flame. Now, I don't know. But when I'm with you, I feel like maybe trust can grow again. Mary felt her heart respond with a gentle flutter. They stayed in silence for a while, but it was not a heavy silence. It was a bridge between them. Their bond was no longer just about shared walks or fleeting happiness. It was now fortified by shared pain, understood and accepted. When they stepped outside, the winter air was crisp, the stars sharp and clear. Mary looked up at the sky, and for the first time in many months, she felt her father near. Perhaps he was smiling, seeing that she was no longer alone. Alex walked beside her, thinking, I'm still afraid. But maybe with her, fear can be faced and even softened. The city sparkled with lights, every street glowing with festive colors. Snow had returned, soft flakes drifting lazily from the sky. Mary and Alex had decided to meet at the small square near the fountain where a modest Christmas market still lingered despite the approaching New Year. I can't believe it's almost midnight, Mary said, her voice filled with wonder as she watched the lights reflecting on the snow. Time flies, Alex replied, smiling. He held a small cup of hot chocolate, steam curling into the cold night air. The square was filled with families, couples, and children laughing as they ran past the market stalls. The scent of roasted chestnuts and cinnamon lingered in the air, mixing with the crisp winter chill. Mary shivered slightly, and Alex instinctively draped his scarf around her shoulders. Thanks, she whispered, her cheeks pink from both cold and excitement. They walked through the stalls, tasting sweet treats and admiring handcrafted ornaments. There was a quiet intimacy in the shared moments, a gentle warmth beneath the winter chill. Do you want to watch the fireworks from the bridge? Alex asked, his tone careful, almost hesitant. Mary's eyes lit up. Yes, that sounds perfect. When they reached the bridge, the city seemed suspended in time. The water reflected the lights and the growing anticipation in the sky. People around them counted down the seconds until midnight. 10, 9, 8. The voices rose in unison, hearts beating faster with every number. Alex looked at Mary, feeling a surge of courage. When they reached 1, the sky erupted in color. Fireworks cascaded over the city, brilliant reds, blues, and golds painting the night sky. He took a deep breath and spoke, words trembling but sincere. "Mary, I've never felt this way about anyone. You've brought light into places I thought were dark forever." Mary's heart raced, her lips parted in surprise. "Alex, I—" He reached for her hand, holding it firmly but gently. "I like you, more than I've ever liked anyone. I want to be here, with you, if you'll let me." For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. The fireworks reflected in her wide eyes, and Mary felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the hot chocolate. I feel the same," she whispered, her voice steady now. As the last firework faded into the night sky, they stood close, hands entwined, hearts beating in sync. The city celebrated the arrival of a new year. But in that moment, Mary and Alex celebrated the beginning of something entirely their own. The cold night no longer felt harsh. It was alive with possibility, with the promise of shared moments yet to come. "Happy New Year," Alex murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Happy New Year," Mary replied, smiling, knowing that this was a night they would never forget.